And welcome to InRetroSpection, the show where we review the retro today. I am Joshua Caleb, and today is a very special episode because I am joined not by one nor two, but three special guests. First off, I could probably start calling him a regular now, is Zach of all trades, Zach Williamson.
Woohoo!
And second, this is the second time on our second episode, would be Joel Brodsky.
Hello.
And finally, but certainly not least, is BOL producer and musician extraordinaire, Benito Gonzalez.
How's it going?
Going good. How is everybody?
Doing pretty good.
Not too shabby.
And if you notice by our Hylian garb, you probably guessed the theme of our episode today. Since today is a very special day, it's wait a second. Today's March 1st. So Zelda's 25th birthday was last week, wasn't it?
Yeah, I guess that was a big thing, right? Like there was all this stuff on Zelda last week.
Yeah, it was on the same day as President's Day. So
Oh, yeah.
we
It was,
missed it
last
by
Monday.
a week. Except
Anyone get any Zelda in?
You know, I actually slacked off this week. I meant to get some Ocarina of Time in this weekend, and I didn't, and I should have. So, shame on me.
yeah, so anyway, Zach, you play the Ocarina, don't you?
I actually own a physical Ocarina of Time in the shape and design of the Ocarina of Time from the nefarious Nintendo 64 game, yes.
How
That's
dare
awesome.
you?
I was actually thinking about ordering one of those. I want one of those too. What did you get
I
it like on
know.
eBay or is that an official one?
It is. It's about as official as you can get. There's a shop called Songbird Ocarinas, and they're the guys that specialize in that one. They make a couple different versions. They make both the blue one with the Triforce on it, the Royal Ocarina. They also make the Fairy Ocarina in like the Earth Tone, and
That
then
one's
they've
smaller, isn't it?
they make two different versions. They make a standard range and an extended range. So I went ahead and got the extended range, and I love it. It's a lot of fun to play with.
I know. I really wanted to get one of those. Back when I had a 64 with the Ocarina of Time, I actually saw them at a musician instrument shop, and they looked pretty nice. But how good are you at playing the Song of Time?
You know, I'm a little out of practice, but I think I still got it somewhere around here.
All right. Well, should we have Link play us a tune and see if we can go back to last week so we can do this show up proper?
Let's see if Link can pull it off, because I don't think I can.
All right. Let's see what he's got. Everybody still here?
Man, you guys, I can't believe March is next week.
Yeah, the winter's going by so fast.
March is today, isn't it?
No, to
Oh,
check your
but,
calendar.
we went back in time.
Oh,
oh,
Yeah, to check your calendar. It should be
Wow.
President's Day.
Did I just miss that?
We're in the future.
You guys are in the future. You guys are future retro gaming.
Well, then Skype must be transdimensional.
I mean, just watching that clip, it totally brought me back. I hadn't played that game in I don't know how
Oh
long.
yeah.
I guess 15 years. When did it come out?
Let's see. The release date of Ocarina of Time.
That was in the 90s.
Yeah,
For sure
it
in the
was
90s. I'd say 97.
early. Oh, actually, no, it was 98. November
98.
21st of 98.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll get to that one. The first game on our list, and we're actually covering since today is Zelda's 25th birthday. We are actually covering every Zelda game in existence. If we don't cover it, it doesn't exist. So don't look for it. Don't play it. Don't even bother. So naturally, we will start with the first one. So when was the last time anyone played this one?
I probably never picked it up after I finished it the first few times.
I haven't played the original Legend of Zelda, I think, in about 7 or 8 years now. A friend of mine had modded his Xbox, so he had a lot of NES ROMs on there. And of course, he knew that he had to have that, so I think that was the last time I played it, about 7 or 8 years.
Yeah, because this like practically kickstarted the whole adventure game genre, at least on the consoles. So they had all those.
Yeah, this was the release
PC.
title, wasn't it, for the NES?
This actually,
was it a
I
launch
think you
title,
may
or
be
was-
right, Benito. Benito, I think let me check. First game released February 21st of '86.
That sounds around the time. At least I think probably within the same year.
Let's see.
Like, I remember when I played this game, the only way to get through anything was to try it. Like, or buy like the Nintendo Power or something.
Oh, the Nintendo
And
Power.
I remember bombing every single brick in the on the game.
Well, yeah, because
I just didn't know.
there was like no hints. There were no. This was before the
Nothing.
Zelda had towns where you could talk to people, and the few people that lived in little caves, they just spouted nonsensical babble.
Let's see.
You were completely on your own.
Couple of fun facts. The original Legend of Zelda was the first home console title to include an internal battery backup for save data.
Oh yeah, can you imagine playing this thing without a save?
Oh my god. Imagine what kind of crazy password structure it would have to have.
Yeah.
It would have to save your inventory and stuff like that. I don't think that would work.
No. It was also the first NES title to sell over 1 million copies.
You can sort of see why.
then-
I mean, that was it was like epic. There was had never been a console or game like it before.
Yeah. I'm getting the new swords and stuff. Wow.
Yeah, this one actually had quite a few items. I was surprised. There were like 3 different swords. You had a couple of candles. You had a flute. And what else did they have?
Raft.
Oh yeah, the raft and the ladder.
The raft.
The ladder was sort of weird because the thing was only like 2 feet high.
I still love the boomerang. the way that the boomerang operated was great.
Yeah.
Just chuck it at an enemy
Yeah,
and it
it's
sits
beautiful.
there.
All right. Well, should we move on to the second one?
This is the this is still on the NES one, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Where it was actually like a different map structure and everything, right?
The second
Yeah.
one. Get that up.
It's like there was a super map and then a smaller map, right? You have to go into like the spot, right?
Yeah. This one.
And it turns into a side scroller.
Yeah. This
Yeah.
was a really
see,
weird.
that-
I don't really like it much. I don't know why they did it, but they like tried to change the formula entirely. But yeah, it's
Yeah,
this,
I
a
remember this
weird
one.
side scroller. And then
Yeah.
you had this.
It was hard too. It was hard.
Yeah. Well, because Link's sword was only about 3 inches long, and everyone else got these 2-foot swords, and you just had the little puny thing.
People could punch Link before he could stab him.
Yeah.
Link was like a kid. It's like a little kid when you hold his forehead back and he's trying to swing at you, and you just sit there and watch him because he's at arm's length from you, and he's half your size, so he just keeps swinging and swinging and swinging, and you just look at him. That's how Link was in Link 2. I just
Yeah, this one also had.
Yeah, I feel like they were probably trying to go with like the Final Fantasy style. Like Final Fantasy probably had just hit, and Dragon Quest and those other RPGs.
But yeah, because this has a lot of RPG elements, but Final Fantasy was
Yeah.
never a side scroller.
But I also remember when I played this game, I was living in the Philippines and I had to buy the Japanese version, so I didn't understand what anybody was saying.
Oh well, you didn't miss much.
So it was probably not. Yeah, I wasn't too fond of this one.
No, and then this one had had lives. I think this is like the only Zelda game where you had a set number of lives, which is really weird for an adventure game.
Yeah, this one's quite a departure.
I think we just lost Zach. I guess he really didn't like this one. Joel, are you still there?
Barely. My audio is cutting in and out.
The joys of doing a podcast on a 1.5 megabit connection. I think.
I blame Skype.
Hello. Yeah, I blame Skype. Don't worry about that. I know Skype.
It's
Hello
okay.
there.
I get to bitch though
Hey.
because I pay for Skype.
Oh wow.
I do. I pay. I've got. As far as subscriptions are concerned, I've got. I think everything they've got. I've got Skype in. I've got Skype out, unlimited to U.S. and Canada, and then I've got Skype Premium now for the multiple video.
Cool. So do you not have a landline?
No, I don't have a landline at all. I've got my cell. I've got the Skype stuff. I'm actually waiting to try to find a decent Skype adapter or Skype phone for the house.
Hmm.
But
Is everyone back?
I think so.
Yeah,
Joel, you back?
I am.
All right, cool.
All right, so but move on before we get kicked off again. On to probably one of the best
Oh.
Zelda games.
Yeah.
There are times when I still get a little choked up playing this game.
Yeah, this was probably the best one. Like when people ask me what the best Zelda was, I usually say this one.
Well, because they returned it to the original, the top-down, more adventure-styled format, and
And there was just that golden age in the Super NES.
Yeah,
That was just like
Yeah.
wonderful.
sound and everything. Even the little cinematic fly-in, the 3D fly-in to the castle at the beginning.
Oh, and you talk about sound, and Benito, as a musician, I know you can appreciate this. I mean,
Oh
just
yeah, I love the music in this game. It's
the things
beautiful.
they
I-
could
I-
do
have you-
with that synthesizer at that point in time,
Yeah.
it was just incredible.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
and
beautiful.
when I first played it, you really caught the atmosphere because it starts out, it's storming outside, yet you're inside. You can still hear the storm, albeit muffled outside. And then you go outside and it's full-on thunderstorm.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Yeah,
plus
a
the
lot
thing
of
is, like,
great ambient
epic.
effects and just beautiful mixing all around.
Yeah, and the gameplay was superb. The story was
no
solid.
doubt.
I think I think I only have 2 complaints with this one. One is actually on the sound, is that the dungeons, each dungeon didn't have a unique theme or sound to it.
Mhm.
They
I
at
think that
least
was a constraint of the cartridge.
could be. I mean, they at least went with the Light World dungeons had this soundtrack and the Dark World dungeons had this soundtrack.
Hmm.
But that, and I don't know if anyone else felt this, but the bosses to me didn't seem to have that puzzle element that some of the later Zelda games had. Where the
Well, I
games seemed
think
more like
part
a
of that
hack and
too is the
slash.
fact that, like Benito said, there were there's so much detail in this game already, from the artwork and the music and the storyline. I mean, you've got the
Yeah.
Light World, you've got the Dark World. I think that was a restraint in the cartridge. I think there was just not enough room at the time to put as much as they wanted to put in here.
Yeah, that's for sure. Like these games these are like first gen Super NES games, so they weren't even over 8 megs maybe. And like nowadays, that's just one MP3, right?
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, but they definitely managed to cram a whole lot in here. It's
Oh yeah. I mean, because it's
epic.
none of the sound is actually is actually recorded. It's all digital, right? It's all made by the cartridge.
Right, it's all essentially just code.
Yeah, it's all MIDI.
It's amazing what they could do with that. And still to this day, that being considered probably the greatest Zelda game ever made.
Yeah, probably by most.
I think the only solid contender for that would be Ocarina of Time.
Yep, Ocarina of Time. It's probably.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, got one more Zelda title before we get to Ocarina.
Link's Awakening is the way a Zelda game should have been put forth on a handheld platform. It's different, but there are so many things that were done right in this game. And you think about some of the things that they did as far as Game Boy adaptations of home console games, like Super Mario Land versus Super Mario Brothers. Super Mario Land was a weird, screwed up game. I mean, let's just be honest.
The physics.
The whole thing,
really
it was just weird.
Yeah. And this actually started
But-
out as the original black and white Game Boy game, and they eventually upgraded it to the DX version for the Game Boy Color, which is actually, I think, the one I played. Yeah, this one wasn't quite as epic, or as large scale as like the Super Nintendo one, but they definitely managed to cram quite a bit in there. this one, even each dungeon had its own soundtrack, albeit a very limited and repetitive soundtrack. But
Well, I think Link's Awakening really set the bar for RPGs and action adventure games on the Game Boy. I mean, before this, there was no comparison. You know, the games were simplistic. They were there for convenience, not so much for the gameplay value. But Link's Awakening really brought in the gameplay aspect, and they did it so well. I mean, like I said, it's exactly what you thought a Zelda game for the Game Boy should be.
It's basically a lot like the Link's Awakening, Link to the Past. It carried a lot of those, except that I think this is the first one they introduced the 2 item slot system. Because Link to the Past had 1 item slot, but then they assigned various other functions to the extra buttons. This one, since you only had 2 buttons, they assigned each of those an item. So then you weren't carrying around your shield the whole time. You just had to pick 2 items for A and B, whether it was your sword and shield or your feather and your power bracelet.
Yeah, and that really brought in an interesting element, the fact that you didn't always have your shield in hand.
Yeah,
you know, it
weird.
really presented a challenge a lot of times because you had to have 2 other items, and in the middle of it all, you're being attacked, so you had to figure out what you were going to do to keep yourself from dying half the time.
Yeah, and even when you did have your shield equipped, you actually had to activate it in order to block things, where on the original Legend of Zelda and Link to the Past, you always had your shield, and as long as you faced forward and weren't like swinging your sword or doing something else, you would automatically deflect any incoming attack to the front.
Yeah, I actually never got to play any of the Game Boy ones.
Oh, if you get a chance, if you love Link to the Past, you would absolutely love Link's Awakening.
Yeah, I've actually hadn't gone back and played any of the must-play Game Boy games because I missed that generation. Just the Game Boy. I didn't have one of those.
Yeah, I mostly picked these up at garage sales much later.
Yeah.
Well, now should we go to the other big title on here?
I think though you missed one Zelda game here.
And the timeline, which one?
The original Game & Watch Zelda game.
Oh, the Game & Watch.
Oh, right.
That's right.
This is the very first one.
Yeah, I had seen that one.
But I'd never played it. I've only heard about it. It's like a legend.
Yeah.
It's
Ironically
the
enough.
Game & Watch version is truly the Legend of Zelda.
Yeah.
That's the one that nobody has and nobody can find, and
Probably costs so much on eBay.
oh, I'm sure. I had a hard enough time finding some of these other. Like I did some of these random Zelda games. I did.
Like you can probably pick most of these up on the Wii though, right?
Yeah,
Game
a lot
& Watch,
of these are
I'm not
available
sure.
on the Wii Virtual Console.
Yeah, you can get The Legend of Zelda, Zelda 2, and Link to the Past all on the Virtual Console for like $5 to $8. The Game Boy ones, not as much. Though with the 3DS, they're saying they're gonna start releasing those on there.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, for obscure Zelda games, have any of you guys seen the satellite view? This was kind of restricted
Oh, yeah.
to Japan, so there.
Yeah, I've seen clips of this before.
Yeah, it was a weird thing.
What is this? Like a side one? Like a Japanese only?
Yeah, it was in Japan
Yeah, this one was
only.
Japanese only.
And it was a weird attachment. You had to buy like over $500 in equipment that would attach to your Super Nintendo or Super Famicom in Japan. And then they would broadcast these games that you could then like download and play while they're being broadcast.
Oh, I heard about that. Like the original cloud storage, right?
Yeah,
Original
it
cloud
was
buying.
the very first cloud gaming.
Sounds like a reasonable price.
Yeah. Then you had to pay the equipment fees plus a subscription fee. So it was like massively expensive.
Yeah, I remember all the original Nintendo, Super Nintendo stuff had, like in Japan, because we got, where I lived, we had a bunch of the Japanese peripherals and stuff, and in Japan there was all kinds of stuff you could get for your
Oh,
console.
yeah.
Like I remember there was a disc
Oh
drive
yeah.
There was
where
the
you could actually
Famicom
like
disk drive.
save games and stuff like that, and you can copy over games and just copy your friends' games, and it was totally legit. Like they didn't say anything, they didn't say you couldn't do it. That's how they advertised you could use it.
Yeah, it was crazy, all the stuff they had. Yeah, and then this one is sort of weird. I think there was like a small handful, if it was 2 or 3 of these games that were like in a series. And the one is basically a 16-bit remake of the original Legend of Zelda, where you play as this little mascot character instead of Link. It was a little bizarre, but...
Well, really? A 16-bit version of the original Zelda?
Yeah, that's what's up, right?
Oh, that's what we're seeing. Yeah, wow.
Yeah, I have no idea what the storyline is supposed to be and what the guy is actually saying, but yeah, it's a 16-bit remake, and I think there might have even been a slightly enhanced version of Link to the Past that you could have played too.
I think you're right.
But these are another one that's like impossible to find because they are, obviously exclusive to Japan, so... But the only way you can get them
It
now...
exists online, though, right? This for sure exists online somewhere.
Either online or if someone has a hacked copy of the ROM. Some people do actually have hacked versions where you play as Link and it's all English translations and whatnot.
I actually wouldn't be surprised either if there's like a user-made 16-bit version of the original Zelda.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I know we'll talk about this in a few minutes, but look at a lot of the different hacked-up versions of Ocarina of Time that were out there.
Oh yeah, there's a 4 Swords version.
Oh yeah.
Alright, so we move on to Ocarina of Time then.
Let's.
God, it's so beautiful.
Yeah, I know.
I have a box of tissues if you need it, Zach.
You're a gentleman and a scholar, Joel.
I try.
That didn't get you a special anything, right? If you put it in Link.
No, it didn't.
No.
It didn't.
But the first game you got something, right?
The first game, I think if you put in... Actually, I think if you put in Zelda, it gave you something. Now, you want to talk about a storyline. Ocarina of Time had a crazy storyline, and it wasn't... the best part about it wasn't just one story. It was split into 2 over 2 different spans of time, and it was just such a great story.
Yeah, I don't like time travel, but this game is incredible. The story on it. I'm not sure how it fits into the Zelda timeline, because there really is no Zelda timeline.
Yeah, they kind of treat it like independent games, right?
Yeah. I mean, this one is sort of... Some people sort of consider this to actually be a prequel to the original Zelda. Which is kind of weird, but... Yeah, they're basically all independent adventures and entities and timelines
And that annoying fairy. Dear God.
Well, hey, listen! I actually liked her.
No!
thought it was actually kind of cool having this little navigator guide you around. I guess it made the adventure not quite seem so lonely.
I will say this: Navi set the standard for sidekicks. Like, you know, we were talking last week about Banjo and Kazooie, but come on, man. I mean, there was just Navi was useful.
Well, yeah. I mean, well, Kazooie was only useful in that she was half your abilities. But Navi actually helped you out and would give you hints and would tell you about enemies that you were fighting and like how to defeat them.
Navi was the targeting system too.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
The Z targeting system, that was an incredible innovation.
That's a game changer. That was a game changer.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, man.
'Cause
You
then
know,
could
and
actually do
honestly, as crazy as it was, I hated having to, you know, have 3 hands to operate the Nintendo 64 controller.
that
But
was an awful
Ocarina of Time
controller.
really did do a good job as far as the controls and how they were mapped out. I mean, it was just really, it took full advantage of the quirks, really, in the Nintendo 64 controller. And I absolutely love playing this game.
Yeah, you could actually do real sword fighting sort of techniques in combat with the targeting system,
Yeah, that's awesome.
and it not just
It
sort
was
of
great. You could,
blindly swing in the general direction of the enemy.
you could strafe, you could parry. It was great. It was a real
Yeah,
game.
this was the first. Yeah, this was the first 3D one, right? This was the
Yeah.
very first 3D Zelda.
Yeah.
That's what this one and Link to the Past are sort of revered as the best. I don't know which one has actually sort of won out among most of the fans, but these two are definitely widely revered as the best in the entire saga.
Well, with me, the musical element in this was a big deal for me.
Yeah.
You know, the fact that you got to play your own music,
Yeah,
and
that's cool.
it was such a big deal. Like, you know, sure there was musical elements in Link's Awakening, but nothing like it was here. This
because you never
here,
actually played it.
it
You just pressed
determined
a
your
button.
fate.
Yeah, and the other ones you just pressed a button, he spit out a little tune. This one you actually have to physically play the instrument. You actually have to follow the notes for different songs.
And then there's the Scarecrow over by the lake, where you actually made up your own song for it
Oh,
to be the
yeah,
Scarecrow
for the-
song. You know, it added a level of
that's
your own
awesome.
personal creativity to it, and I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all those little details like that.
The amazing running man of Hyrule.
Yeah, I think he actually shows up in the sequel to this.
The Happy Mask guy might be the creepiest dude ever.
Yeah. Oh, well, okay. Here's another thing there's 2 very well, 3 if you count the Happy Mask guy, which he is definitely very creepy. But I saw a post on this the other day of they were commenting on the most terrifying, creepiest enemy in video games.
Oh yes.
Okay, so
Oh my God, these guys.
yeah. If you're gonna scream, make sure you turn the mics down.
Oh. Oh. The Redead is like, if you take every creepy thing about a zombie, a vampire, and a potato sack.
Well, yeah, it looks like
That's a-
Scarecrow on Batman. You know,
It
there's-
does. It really does. It looks
Oh,
just
yeah.
like Scarecrow. And they can freeze you in place. They can jump on you, and then they just eat the life out of you. It's absolutely horrifying.
And the way they set him up was that even did it up even more because you're playing. You start out, as young Link. You're the little kid. You go into this graveyard, which is kind of creepy anyway. You finally go into the royal family's tomb, and you're exploring around in there. You come into this room, and you see, oh, there's these funky-looking clay statues in here. You start running in there, and they shriek, and all of a sudden you're just frozen as this thing moans and lumbers towards you, and then grabs you and starts sucking the life out of you. I mean, I know these things completely terrified me when I first saw them. And I think Nintendo has actually, since then, attempted to make them less scary, but to little effect.
Really? Why would they do that?
Well, because Nintendo was a family-friendly thing, and they must have realized after the fact that they were terrifying little children with these. Because they are completely freaky.
That's good. That means they were effective. Keep it in.
Exactly.
The Redeads, and then the other kind of, as a quick mention, another thing I thought was kind of creepy.
The Great Fairy. The Great Fairy may have been the creepiest good person in any game ever, because it's like you go down into this hole and it's dark, and then suddenly you walk into the room, everything lights up, and there's a whore in a fountain.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
whenever she appears and talks, she's always either giggling oddly or shrieking like she's being chased by some axe murderer.
And like the way she like stands, it's utterly suggestive in a creepy way.
Yeah, I have no idea what they were thinking when they did these. I liked it better when they just had the little fairies, where the little forest type with the little wings and the little dresses, and they sort of flit around and.
The Tinkerbell type.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These were weird.
It was the precursor to We Dare.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Okay, so next one we got is one of the few direct sequels to any Zelda game.
Yeah, it's rare that they make another one on the same console.
Or even the same timeline. This is the one I think they really brought out the Happy Mask Salesman as a really creepy.
I don't think that. I think they just accentuated his creepiness.
Well, yeah, he was
Anybody
always creepy
who has a
with
face
that.
like that,
Yeah.
it's just kind of ugh.
This one they really accentuated that the guy practically drips evil and creepiness.
These games are still designed in Japan, though, right?
I think so. I think that's where Nintendo was headquartered, and the guy that created them.
Yeah, that would probably account for a lot of the strangeness.
And this one, it's not quite as revered as Ocarina of Time, but it actually has a lot of the same elements and actually improved on a lot of things.
Yeah, well, I mean, iterative games rarely, get the same praise.
Yeah.
Well, not only that, but a lot of us were too cheap to buy Majora's Mask because you had to have the memory expansion module for the 64.
Right. This is the
Oh,
one
yeah,
that
that's right. I actually didn't play this one either, yeah.
Yep, it was one of the first ones that required the expansion module.
That's right.
Yeah, because I remember getting a Nintendo 64, and I got like Donkey Kong 64, and I wanted to play it. But it kept giving me that message that you needed a memory expansion thing. And it's kind of buried in the console. I mean, you have no idea if you're even missing it. unless you pop open that thing. So
It's in the little front thing, right?
yeah, there's a little
Yeah,
panel in
yeah,
the
it's
front that
right
you had to
there.
pop open, and then you had to figure out whether or not you did have the memory expansion thing. So just this little brick that slid in there. But yeah, they definitely used it to, I think they bumped the graphics up.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, this would have probably been worth the price of admission. Like now, like now that I can afford this kind of stuff. Like yeah, I would totally buy the expansion pack. and
Yeah,
play the
right.
game.
Well, now that they're like $5, you can go into any like retro gaming store and find it now.
Well, and these actually, both of them, you can even get on the Wii for $10 a pop.
Oh yeah, that's right. I could totally just get this on the Wii. Man, I've been meaning to get to that stuff.
I gotta say, I'm very happy with the way that Majora's Mask I didn't really play much, especially on the Wii, but the way it turned out was just fantastic. And a matter of fact, they had a 3-pack of some kind for the GameCube.
No,
Let
it
me
was a
see.
4-pack actually. If you pre-ordered Wind Waker on the GameCube, depending on what you chose or where you got it or something, you could either get Ocarina of Time with the Ocarina of Time Master Quest, where they redid all the dungeons, or
Right.
you could get a 4-pack that had
Yeah, I
The
remember
Legend of
that.
Zelda, Zelda 2, Ocarina of Time, and Majora's Mask. Yeah, I never played this one much either, but from what little I have played and have seen, I actually kind of like the iterations that they did over the first one. Like the mask system, I think is actually kind of interesting.
That's like a very much related to like how Super Mario works, right?
Oh, with the
Yeah.
suits.
Like,
The
yeah,
Mario 3 or what it was had the different
all,
suits.
all the Marios really now.
Yeah. Let's see. Mario 3, there were a couple different suits. In Super Mario World, you had the cape.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I think what's sort of cool about the masks is that since you actually transformed into that creature, it gave it a little more visual flair and sort of uniqueness.
Yeah, another dimension. Adds another dimension to the game.
Yeah, you're not just using a tool; you're actually becoming something else. And who wouldn't want to be a little Deku scrub who can shoot bubbles? Well, should we move on to the next one?
What's the next one here?
Now, I may have these a little out of chronological order because I tried to group them a little bit too. But next up,
Would be a cube one, right?
nope, this is the Game Boy Color.
Oh, Game Boy.
This is actually a weird Oracle of Seasons, Oracle of Ages. It was a weird Pokemon type duel game. Where you had two games that were kind of identical, yet at least on Zelda they were completely different. They both had identical storylines, but the cast of characters was completely different. The game levels and everything was completely different. And the mechanics were also completely different, so it was really weird. And if you played one and finished it, you got a code that you could then input to the other one that would unlock a final ending and more items, and vice versa. So they really wanted you to play both games.
Mhm.
It was kind of like the way that they did with Pokemon, where you could only get certain ones by trading back and forth with other people that had different editions.
Yeah. The Pokemon, I think, weren't those the only difference between the versions were a few characters or something? The actual game itself was identical?
Well, I think different Pokemon showed up depending on which version you had.
Yeah, but
And when you were playing with other people, right? Like it made a difference.
But the levels
Yeah.
and everything was all the same.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like the single player game is the same.
yeah. This one, the level and world that you actually explored, each one had a different world. The different central mechanic, like the Oracle of Seasons, you got this rod of seasons that you would power up, and you could, by standing on a tree stump, you could then change the season of the area around you. So you like freeze over lakes or create big snow drifts that will let you climb places, or grow vines up rock and all kinds of stuff like that. Then the Ages one was basically a kind of a clone of Ocarina of Time. And they just swapped between past and present, past and present to alter the world.
You know, it was really nice though that they eventually adopted the same, like sort of theme and feel to all of them. You know, they kind of got away with it a little bit with Link's Adventure, and then they came back, and I mean that's why it's always been a strong series. It's always been very coherent.
Mm-hmm.
And they're also like very willing to try new things.
Yeah, they are, and they don't do things that are completely outrageous. They do things that actually make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Days you would get bored and just fire it up and just start whacking grass all over the place.
Or try to retrieve that elusive item that you have to give to a certain person in order to get another item to give to another certain person to get some item to finally make your way to the dungeon.
How many sets of batteries would you go through, man?
You know, that was the only thing to me. I noticed it more on these handheld ones. That there were times where they seemed to devolve into these giant overarching fetch quests, where you had to bring one item to this person, so you could bring their item to this other person, so you could use this item over here to bring this item to that person, and finally wind up in another dungeon. But yeah, otherwise they were really good games. And it was actually fun playing both of them. Alright, our next one is sort of a combination of games. For the first Four Sword was actually a multiplayer pack-in when they re-released Link to the Past on the Game Boy Advance. And it was more like a giant multiplayer battle thing. It wasn't really even an actual Zelda game, so to speak.
Yeah, it was more like one of those Nintendo minigame games.
Yeah.
Right?
Four Swords was the Mario Party of Zelda games.
Yeah, pretty
Yeah.
much. Especially
It really was.
The first one, the Game Boy Advance, that basically all it was just a Mario Party mode for your Zelda. You know, it wasn't till later when they released it on the GameCube that they actually turned it into a full-on Zelda game.
Yeah, and that was sort of like a holy grail for for people who played all the Zelda games, like to play it with your friends.
Yeah, the only catch was each person had to have a Game Boy Advance.
Yeah,
And a
it's
cable
pretty
to plug it
ridiculous.
into your...
It's like a LAN party with your consoles.
Oh yeah.
I know I could only play the single player on this because I didn't have three other friends that all had Game Boy Advances that all had
Yeah,
a little
neither
link
did I.
cable to plug it into the GameCube. And I almost
Yeah,
can't
it's
imagine playing
ridiculous.
it with 4 people. Because, I mean, it just seems like it would have been way too chaotic to try and actually play a Zelda game with 4 people. Especially trying to get everyone
Yeah.
to cooperate and coordinate everything.
Yeah, it's like playing the new Super Mario on the Wii, the multiplayer.
It is. It
It's
is. I was
chaos.
gonna say, yeah, it is. It's crazy. But the one good thing about, at least about what's, New Super Mario Brothers Wii, not everybody has to have a DS to play it.
Yes, yes.
Well, yeah, I'm not sure why the only reason. I think the only reason they required a Game Boy is because when one person went into a house or a cave, it would
Yeah,
then
he actually
transition
went in
that
on his own.
so that you would actually only see that on your Game Boy Advance, so you wouldn't be blocking everyone else and
I
messing
mean,
with
which when
their
you think
screen.
about it is awesome, but
Yeah, because then
come
you can
on.
be in the cave exploring and no one else knows what you're finding. You could be completely
Yeah.
cleaning up in there, and everyone else is outside cutting grass.
Cutting grass. That's right.
That must be the favorite Zelda pastime.
Never
Always
know
wanted
what
to
you
do
might
this.
find. And there's so many different ways to do it.
Yeah, bombs, swords, boomerangs. All right. Next one, also for the GameCube, is actually probably one of my most favorite Zelda games I've ever played.
When I first saw this game, I said, this it's a Zelda game made for 5-year-olds because of the cell shading animation, and just it seemed a little too whimsical. And I started playing this game, and I absolutely fell in love with it.
Oh yeah, I mean, this is one of the first game for me that I really felt like I was playing a cartoon.
Yeah, it's like you're watching the story unfold, and you're
Yeah.
helping the story unfold,
Yeah,
Well, yeah,
it was
and-
awesome. But I mean, also it really was sort of for kids. It was pretty easy.
It was, but it was so much fun.
Well, yeah,
Oh, it was definitely a lot of fun.
it was epic. I mean, yeah, the sailing around got a little tiring at times, but just at times you'd just be sort of sailing around and just realizing just how big the world actually is,
Yeah.
and the sense of scale and scope on this was incredible.
And then you're playing the game, and you start to realize, wow, this is the first Legend of Zelda that really is about the legend. It's not,
Oh,
you're
yeah.
not playing as Link. You're playing just as this kid who they've passed this story on for years and years, and it's the first true major progression in the storyline.
Well, yeah, this is probably, if you were to try to put these into any cohesive series, this comes right after what would be Majora's Mask and continues on that same storyline. So it essentially could be considered the first third Zelda game that they made. 'Cause otherwise they always were in like, it was a Zelda game and then a sequel, and then you went on to something completely different.
The other thing about this is the music in this game was different. You could tell that there was a variation on the theme because it was so sea based.
More
You
Irish.
spent so much time out on the open water, but it's just the music in this game is just to fall in love with.
Well, I mean,
Yeah, I
even-
mean, this is around the moment where the technology was there, where they could do
yeah.
really good music already.
Yeah, each dungeon had its own theme. Even the battles, when you get near in range of an enemy, it would start up this little sort of subtle, creeping, ominous theme, and then when you actually started battling, the music would dynamically change depending on how well you were doing.
Yeah.
The better you were fighting, the more hits you were getting in. It would throw in these little flares and rises in the
Like
music.
stabs.
Yeah, and it was almost like your fighting was the music.
Yeah, yeah. It's oh, it
was-
was so beautiful.
And
And then you continue with the storyline, and when you realize that, you know, just the revelations that you find out, and as you're walking through the underwater ruins of old Hyrule, and
oh yeah, the first time you did that, that was creepy because
it was creepy because you're walking
Everything-
through, and the music is so ominous, and
everything's
it's
black and white. Everything is completely frozen. The water's frozen. The batteries are frozen. And it's all
and
in
everything.
black and white.
The music almost sounds like it's playing in reverse.
And it could be. It was really weird.
But it was so. I mean, it grabbed your attention. Something fierce.
Yeah. And they actually, going back to the cartoon animated style, they actually did it to very good effect because the expressions on the characters' faces
Oh
were
yeah.
incredible. Even while
Yeah.
you're just playing the game and Link is running around, you know, and when he's like sneaking around the fortress, his expression is constantly changing depending on what's going on around him.
They utilize that a lot in this game. I mean, just from not only with Link's expressions, but with all of the other major characters in the game, you could tell that there was
There
that
actually
they
was
put a lot of
emotion.
subtleties in here, so it would still appeal to guys like us that were from the first generation of Zelda players.
Yeah, and it really sort of made you not quite notice the fact that Link never talks. 'Cause his expressions basically spoke for him. This is actually one of the few Zelda games that I actually finished. I've played just about all of them, but I never actually finished most of them.
Really, you didn't finish the first one?
No, I never played the first one much.
Oh.
I got quite a ways through Link to the Past and the Game Boy versions.
You know, the first one you had to finish twice to finish.
Oh yeah, that's right. I heard that. That's weird. But then this one they actually kind of threw a bizarre little incentive to finish it twice because you played it through one time, you got this little camera so you could take pictures.
Oh yeah, that's right. That
But they were
changed.
black
They
and
would give
white
you a second game to
pictures.
play. Like they made you take pictures of everything.
Well, then there was quests
That's
based on
right.
the pictures. But the first time you played through, you can only take black and white pictures, and the people that wanted you to go on quests for pictures, they wanted color pictures.
Yeah.
And you only got the color camera after you finished it.
And there was a musical instrument to this game too, wasn't there?
Yeah, his little baton.
It was the
the
it
Oh
was the
yeah,
baton.
that's
The
right. The
baton
conductor
was the
stick,
Wind
the
Waker.
baton. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and it was always cool when you would find
Yeah,
the
that was
different
fun.
sages, and you would conduct your little theme for them, and they would start
Yeah.
strumming away or tooting away at their little instrument. And then as
And
they
then you
started
could
playing,
would actually sit there and conduct. You
Yeah,
could
he would
conduct in the
conduct
middle
it.
of the ocean, and you
Yeah.
would sit there and conduct it to have it change the direction of the wind, and you'd look up and you could see there'd be the billows going by you to show you which direction the wind was now going. It was really cool.
yeah,
That's right. That was awesome. That was a big part of the game. Like you were at the water in the water a lot.
yeah. You had that, and then you had the song that would change night into day or day into night. It basically went back to the Ocarina of Time style, where the music is a major part of the gameplay.
Yeah. And they're
Aw.
they're gonna do that with the next Wii one, right? Like you have to play the flute. You have to hold your Wii up to your mouth.
I'm not sure. I haven't seen that. I've only heard mention of the sword.
I think they showed that at E3 last year.
Oh, did they? That would be really cool. I mean, I could only imagine how how you would do that with the Wiimote, but I'm
Yeah.
all about my Zelda music. That's for sure.
Well, yeah, the musical instruments have almost become an integral part of the series.
I mean, that's been true about pretty much any Nintendo first-party game. Like they care about their music.
Oh yeah.
They do. They absolutely do. I mean, that's one of the things that I love about Nintendo's own platformers. It's one of the things that I love about Final Fantasy. Final
Yeah,
Fantasy
for
is one of those
sure.
series that the
Oh my
music
God,
is
yeah.
just wow. It floors you.
Yeah. Yep.
Boy, I've heard people say that like music is like the back door into a person's mind. It's going sort of back to those Red things, you know, you can throw all the flash and gore and anything you want at them to their eyes, and they're not really going to care. You start playing some serious music and start really messing with the sound and putting some effort into that, and you're going to have people glued. Just
Yeah, that sounds fun already.
shivers up their spine and clutching the seat and eyes riveted on the screen.
Well, it's like we were talking about earlier in the week when you found the little mashup video of Link putting the sword back into the platform
yeah.
at the pedestal of time. I watched that and I got goosebumps, man, because that's just
Well, yeah,
it's one of
that
those
Song of
things that
Time.
sticks with you.
Yeah, I have to thank that there's a guy on YouTube that he makes orchestral remixes of video game themes. He did a remix of the Song of Time that was incredible.
Awesome. I assume you've heard the John Williams orchestration of
Yep,
the original theme.
Yep.
Oh yeah,
Oh, here.
that's still one of my favorite orchestral pieces.
Beautiful.
Yeah, before we move on to the next game, here is one of Nintendo's reiterations of the Red in order to make them more kid-friendly.
See, it's not the same.
No,
Yeah.
it doesn't quite work.
I mean, it's also kind of hard to make something too scary in this art style.
That's true. That's true. I mean, that was, like I was saying earlier, that was one of the hardest things for me to get started with this game was because of the cell shading. I almost couldn't take it seriously at first.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
But then you get into it, and
when
they really make up for it between the music and the storyline.
And it starts off really fast, too. I kind of remember this game wasn't one of those games that took forever to start the game.
Oh yeah, you pretty much go through a little mini tutorial, and then all of a sudden you're whisked off from the pirate ship, trying to save your sister.
You wake up, you run outside, and your sister's being kidnapped. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. The whole point of this game is you're not trying to free the princess or anything. No, you're just trying to find your little sister.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
Uh-huh.
And then you find your sister, and then you find out all of this other stuff has gone down, and it's just, man,
Yeah.
it really is
You
very
get to
deep.
your sister and you think, oh cool, I'm almost done with the game. You know, I got the sister now. Now let's go home.
That's what I did.
And
The
then-
first time I played it, I get up to the tower where my sister is, and I'm like, this is it? I'm like, there's no way this can be the whole game, and then everything just goes crazy.
It starts all collapsing around you. All right, next one, is Game Boy Advance. This is another one of the few ones that I have actually finished.
Confession, I have never actually played this game.
Yeah,
And I think part of it was I don't know if I didn't like the concept or I didn't really like the idea of the collaboration with Capcom, which don't get me wrong, I love Capcom. We went over Mega Man last week and I love Mega Man. But I just was never a big, I don't know. I didn't really like the idea that they were collaborating with them in this way. It seemed a little far-reaching to me.
Well, yeah, this one definitely didn't have that really epic Zelda-like feel, but
I think it was less. It was less. The Zelda theme wasn't as strong, basically, right? Like
yeah, it
the
didn't.
Capcom influence. The Capcom influence was prevalent.
Yeah, I liked the game, and I liked the gameplay elements they introduced, like the little your talking hat that can. It basically was the Navi of this. And instead of having a little fairy follow you around, you had a talking hat that would make sarcastic comments and scold you for no apparent reason. But then he could shrink you down to like little minuscule size and open up a whole new level of the gameplay as you're running around the size of a ant. That and the
But again, you know, like they'll try anything.
yeah.
And that's good.
Yeah, the shrinking in size, and then they also brought back the four sword element to an extent. The little pickery blade or whatever blade you're reforging is actually like some variation of the four sword. So when you power it up, you can step over these plates and create copies of yourself in certain formations, depending on what order you step on the little magic plates. And that'll basically follow you around in your little formation and do exactly what you do.
Cool.
Yeah. Not quite the multiplayer madness, but an interesting little gameplay element. That definitely made for some interesting boss fights and puzzles.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, to get the little formation just right. Alright, then on to our next game, which this one I have like never played.
I've played bits and pieces of this game, and I never did get into it because it wasn't. It made great use of the Wii controls the way they are intended, but I couldn't get it. You know, I'm so used to a classic controller style that this really didn't appeal to me from a playability standpoint.
Well, even the Wii controls aside, this one, just sort of looking at it and watching it, to me, it doesn't feel like a Zelda game. I don't know if it's with the graphics or what it is, but the style.
There was something very Final Fantasy about this game.
Yeah,
as
it
far
was
as the
too
artistic
Japanese.
design.
It didn't look like Zelda. I mean, it looks cool, the story. It looks sort of interesting. I like the wolf ideas. An interesting take on a new gameplay element. But it just doesn't look like Zelda.
I don't know if I totally agree with that. Because I mean, when I played this game, I felt like I didn't think that immediately or anything like that. I just thought, yay, another Zelda game. I actually really like I wouldn't say I really like the control scheme, but I like the Wii and I like motion control.
Yeah.
So I kind of enjoyed it.
I don't know. I guess it's just because, you know, call me a purist or whatever, but I've just always liked the classic controls better. Just because that's always been what I've played, and you know, New Super Mario Brothers Wii, I love it. Now there are some, you know, motion elements into it, and I love those. I really do. But I don't know. It's just for something like, especially like Zelda, that's a staple of any Nintendo platform, the classic controls are really what I just absolutely love.
Yeah, and plus when you're using the Wiimote, you have this little Navi-like fairy superimposed on the screen that follows your cursor that always looks
Oh
kinda
yeah.
weird. Watching it being played on the Wii, it always looked kind of weird having this fairy kind of flitting around on top of everything, but not really affecting the game. This one though, actually, from what little I've seen and played, like just the first bit of it, does this one start off kind of slow?
Yeah, this one is one of those that takes forever to get to the game.
Yeah, because Link has to learn everything from the ground up in this game.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is kind of ironic, even that since he's starting out as an adult, as opposed to Ocarina of Time or Wind Waker when he's just a kid.
But at least you get to start with Epona at the beginning.
Yeah, that's cool.
None of that tricking the crazy old coot that took over Lon Lon Ranch.
Yeah, and I think even on Ocarina of Time, Epona, she was basically a way to get around the overworld really fast.
And that's all she was for, really. You know, she was utilized a lot better in this game, absolutely. I don't know. I think it took too long to get through this game.
Yeah, and Link doesn't hold up his treasures that he finds. Like in the old Zelda games, he'd always, do a little pose and hold the thing up above his head. This, he just sort of holds it out like, oh, look what I got.
Oh, hi, I have some stuff.
Yeah, it doesn't have that quite triumphant feel to it. Yeah, I'm still curious to play it to see how it is, but it definitely doesn't seem to have the same caliber as Ocarina or even Wind Waker.
Oh yeah, I definitely don't put it in the. But I still had enjoyed it. I had fun.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, it's not like seared into my head. There aren't moments. Those moments in those games that are like, just in your head forever.
Well, and it's. I'll say this, going along those same lines, Benito. There hasn't been a Zelda game that I just absolutely hated, except for the ones that we don't acknowledge exist.
Yeah.
But aside from that, they all have really high points, every single one of them.
Yeah.
It's just that, there's some that I enjoy more than others.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, totally.
All right, shall we move on to a next portable one, which this actually also continued in the footsteps of Wind Waker, which continued in the footsteps of Majora's Mask. So yeah, we're almost getting an entire saga here, which is kind of amazing.
I played this one. I was really excited actually for this one when it came out.
Yeah, this is another one that I actually did finish the entire game, and
this one was really good.
Yeah, this is like, this game was a really good mashup. You had the musical elements of Link to the Past, you had the artistic style of Wind Waker, and you had a lot of the you had a combination of a lot of different puzzle features from all of them.
And they actually used the dual screens to very good effect, and even especially
Very
like
good
the
effect. And the
bosses.
touch
Oh,
screen.
absolutely.
Like the one boss that's showing right now, I could not figure that one out because you're wandering around this place and the boss isn't there, yet he's grabbing you and attacking you, until I figured out, oh, the top screen is what the boss sees, the bottom screen is what I see. So I have to try and look through the boss's eyes to see where I am, so I know where he is, and that was crazy. Though probably the biggest annoyance on here was the Master Temple, or the Temple of the Ocean King, or whatever it was they called it. You had the time limit to get through a certain portion.
God, yeah.
You had like so much time in your little phantom hourglass to get to the first checkpoint in this dungeon, to get a map so you could go conquer another dungeon, which would then allow you to repeat the same part you just did, but this time get a little further to another checkpoint, get another map.
And that was the other thing about the map. You could actually write on the map.
Yes, that was
cool. That was awesome.
That was a lifesaver.
Oh, that was fantastic.
I know how many games
if you
actually
didn't take notes at certain points, you were done. You had to start over.
Yeah, and how many games even now let you make annotations anywhere in the game? I mean, map, little guidebooks. I mean, I don't know of really any games that allow you to personalize it like that, or make notes to actually help you through the game. Yet you have to rely on their hint system or their guide. You can't actually make your own within the game.
Like I remember, like way back when you played RPGs, I used to keep a notebook where I actually had to write stuff down.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Played those old,
that was like normal practice.
Yeah, when I played those old
it was
PC adventure games like Nancy Drew, or even those old kids ones. I had a little pad of paper and I had to write stuff down because there's no way to remember some of that stuff. Yeah, it's kind of weird in the trailer for this. They actually used the music from Link to the Past. I'm guessing that was before they actually had a soundtrack of their own. Oh yes, and Navi or Fairy also returns. All right, next is a somewhat sort of sequel to this one, though it actually takes place 100 years in the future. They actually did a fairly good job of including characters from the previous game, only much older or descendants of. This one, though, seemed much more different than the other Zelda games. I don't know if it's the train thing.
Yeah, I never really got the train thing. I don't know. Maybe it was just me. Maybe I didn't play it enough. But the train just kind of seemed out of place to me.
Yeah, and it's like it really restricted your ability to move around the overworld. Because basically the train was the overworld. You just kind of told it where you wanted to go, and you went there. And it was almost like there was no overworld. Which was sort of weird, and controlling the train is kind of, from what little I've played of it, it was kind of awkward. Because you had to make sure you didn't crash into other trains, and you had your animals that would get on the track, and all kinds of stuff. So the most interesting part about this one is the dual mode of actually being able to control Zelda to a point. It's probably like the only game that we're going to acknowledge that actually lets you control Zelda.
Well, there was Smash Brothers.
Oh yeah, that's not really a Zelda game.
Smash Brothers is the ultimate platformer.
Yeah, basically.
They just take characters from everywhere and throw them into one big game.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome. Especially in the Brawl version, where they did actually make it into a full-fledged platformer.
Yeah.
I loved Super Smash Brothers.
Yeah.
It was like one of Nintendo's best games.
Those mashups are always fun. Alright, do we want to quick mention, almost done with all the games, quick mention of some of the miscellaneous ones.
Oh yeah, crossbow training.
Yeah, not really a Zelda game per se. Kind of.
The Zelda FPS.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's even only a few levels, I think, where you get to actually move around. Most of it's just stuff coming at you and you just shoot at it. So yeah, a little weird. Not exactly.
This is just like a mini game, though, right? It didn't cost full price, right?
Well, it cost full price because you had to buy it with the little Wii Zapper attachment.
Oh, that's right. You get the
you
get the thing.
So you can feel like you're actually holding a crossbow, even though it looks more like a AK-40 or something. I think we lost everybody again.
I'm back.
Alright, Joel, you back?
Hello?
Hey,
Hmm.
you there?
There you go.
There we go.
Yeah, I think it's partially my bad computer.
Oh. Yeah, it keeps dropping like the entire call for some reason.
Yeah, I hopefully once I get my new computer,
Yeah, and once I
in the
get
next couple weeks, all will be better.
once I get my fiber internet, then maybe we can actually do video. All right, so do we want to cover since we are covering all the Zelda games, do we want to cover some more Japanese exclusive?
What are these? I don't think I even heard of these.
I don't know what order they came in, but one of them is a Nintendo Club Japan exclusive.
It looks like Balloon Fight.
Yep, Tingle's
Oh,
Balloon
balloon
Fight.
fight! I remember that.
Basically identical to Balloon Fight, only with Tingle.
It is Balloon Fight.
Yep. Yeah, I don't think we ever got on the DS in the States. I think it was just the Nintendo Club people in Japan that got this one.
It's crazy.
Yeah, another one that's a little more familiar, which probably has one of the oddest titles. Freshly picked Tingle's Rosy Rupe Land. Which I think the gameplay is about as crazy as the title. It's like, I guess it's some bizarre RPG-like thing.
You know, sometimes it's good that we don't get everything that Japan has.
Yeah.
I think this is one of those times.
Yep. I think there was
What was
another
the title for that again?
Freshly picked Tingle's Rosy Colored Rupe Land.
Oh, it's a cooking game.
Well, I think there's cooking in it. It's not exclusively cooking, but yeah, you can cook, you can do all kinds of
It's
stuff.
a foodie game.
It is a foodie game. It's the Harvest Moon of Zelda games.
Yeah, kinda. Very, very weird.
A fish ate my fairy.
Wait, so this just takes place in the universe of Zelda?
Yeah, you play as Tingle. So I don't think any of the other Zelda characters show up. It's just Tingle.
Tingle's such a wannabe.
Yeah, apparently everyone likes Tingle in Japan. Yeah, I think there was a third Tingle game that's like a mini game collection, but I couldn't find that one. The only way I found it was like I found a ROM of it or something that was like completely Japanese, so I had no idea how to play it. So I think our final game is one that's not even out yet. But I thought we'd cover it anyway. This one actually makes me tempted to get a Wii again.
This game looks like the evolution of Ocarina of Time come to the Wii.
Uh-huh.
It is absolutely gorgeous the way this game looks.
It actually looks better than Twilight Princess, which could be because that was originally developed as an N64 game, then ported to the GameCube, and then ported to the Wii. Plus, it has that very dark art style, so it's...
Yeah.
This one looks much more...
This one's more colorful.
Yeah. Basically, it's like they took Twilight Princess and Wind Waker and mashed them together, and you got this.
This is the Zelda game we've been waiting for the Wii.
So I think it actually has used the Wii Motion Plus, so you get a lot more wider range of motions, not just the...
Yeah, supposedly it's supposed to be 1-to-1. I mean, I use the Wii Motion Plus when I play a lot of games with the Wii Motion Plus, and it does. It works a lot better.
Well, yeah, because you don't have just sort of that random waggling. You have more of a controlled, much more finesse to it, rather than... So hopefully the game plays better than the tech demo they had. That didn't go very well. Because some of those new gameplay and item features definitely look very...
Oh yeah, that part where you shoot the thing that grabs the bomb. Like you actually fly it like a paper airplane.
These little remote-controlled claw beetle thing. There's also supposed to be something with the sword too. Something, because there's a...
Like the sword are actual moves. Like the way you slash, it slashes.
Yeah, and there's something, because there's like a sky world and then there's like a land world, and the sword is somehow a connection between the two. Something like that. So it sounds like they're definitely making the sword a bigger part of the game than they have before. They really want to show off that Wii Motion Plus thing.
Yeah.
You know, I know this sounds sacrilegious because this is a Zelda game, but man, imagine trying to play this with Kinect.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for them to release some really good, even though the hybrid games, because they finally did that update that would allow for controller and motion control with the Kinect. I'm still waiting for those games.
No, but I think they're totally missing out on an opportunity with the Kinect, with the like peripherals, because all you really need to do is like make cutouts and stuff.
Oh well,
yeah,
so
I mean,
then it shows up on screen,
image
you know?
recognition built in.
Yeah, so like all you need to do is bundle in like a sword that comes with the game, and then it shouldn't cost a whole lot more, just a little bit.
Well, then people will be slashing
get a
their
sword.
TVs.
You know, and I hate to say it, but Sony was onto that years ago, and they let it go to the wayside because there were some really cool things you could do with the iToy.
Yeah.
Well, and even with the Move, almost every game that comes out now has some sort of Move compatibility built in, but it still isn't really taking off.
Well, I gotta give Microsoft that much. Why make another controller? Why not just use what's there?
Yeah, especially when they aren't very good at controller design.
Yeah, that's true too.
Oh, I like the Xbox controller.
Yeah, the Xbox 360 controllers.
Yes,
a vast improvement.
Over the original Xbox. The original Xbox was just like you take it in the palm of your hands. You're like, what do I do with this?
Well, it's like a giant brick.
It does. A very lopsided brick. But yeah, I am looking forward to Skyward Sword. This looks like a really, really beautiful game, and it's going to be a lot of fun to play. I can tell already.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm picking that up. Isn't that coming out soon? This should be soon.
It's
Is it this
scheduled
year?
for this year, and it's been in development for the last few. Matter of fact, they started development on it before they started development on Spirit Tracks, and I think that they started this in like mid 2008.
Yeah, so you would think, unless they get hit with another delay like Twilight Princess. Because that may have been part of the problem with Twilight Princess with all those delays, that they ran into a Duke Nukem type thing. But built up the hype a little too much, and then when the actual game came out, it was a little anticlimactic.
Yeah, but at least, Twilight Princess, well, we can buy and play.
That is true. Alright, well, I think that is all the games we have to cover today.
That is a lot of Zelda.
That is a lot of Zelda. Oh, it was
I mean, I never actually
fantastic.
lined them up like that. That is a lot.
Yeah. Then try to put them in a sequential order according to the timeline. That's even harder. Though people have done it.
Oh, there's no way. There's no way.
Yeah. Alright, so... Oh, I forgot to mention this at the top of the show, but our last episode we were covering, we had Toe Jam and Earl and Toe Jam and Earl 2, and I said they were available on Steam, for the PC. Well, apparently they have been pulled from there, so you can only get them on the Wii Virtual Console now, for some bizarre reason.
Shenanigans.
Weak.
Yeah. Don't know what happened there, because usually Sega is pretty good about putting their stuff on everything.
Joel's gonna
Probably
lead
like
us.
especially
He's gonna
since
lead
they
a
don't have
crusade.
their own thing anymore.
Oh yeah, they kind of have to put on something. Alright, so before we play our little tune to bring us back to the present, and we want to promote something, tell people where they can find you. Zach, can I go first?
Sure. I am Z_Williamson on Twitter. Find me there or anywhere that books are sold. Books that people don't read.
Joel? Are you still there?
I'm Hobbit from PA on Twitter and pretty much everywhere else.
And Benito?
And I'm Bang3 on Twitter, BENG3, and you can catch Buzz Out Loud on CNET, so bol.cnet.com every day at 10:30-ish.
And you can find me on Twitter at JoshuaCaleb75 and everywhere else for that matter. And if you want to watch this or make comments on the blog, you can find that at retrogamesforever.com. And you can also subscribe to the podcast, which is now in iTunes, though for some reason I'm getting held up in Zune. So I might need you to talk to your people, Zach.
Maybe I'll have to go and mess with a couple buddies of mine, see if I can't get the ball rolling on that.
Yeah, their process was much simpler, but it's been a while and hasn't gone through. But you can subscribe to it on any other podcast feed or player. All right. So we better end this show quick. We'll get kicked off again. So now we'll have Link take us out again.
Man, that still gives me chills. I love it.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, Zelda.